friend, welcome back. This is kind of like part 2 of a 2-video series that I'm doing. First part, I'm going to link it here for you. I did in the last video, which was to create these collage papers. And we went through the whole exercise of using, various different types of things that you have around the house that makes it easy to create these collage pieces. Today what I'm going to do is we are going to take these pieces and we're going to cut them up and we're going to create mini compositions. And so the goal of this video is for you to learn composition if you're struggling with it, but also to strengthen your skills in creating compositions and training your eye to understand what's a good composition and what's a composition that's just not really working. And so that's what we're going to do today. If you're here to watch me create a video of me creating from start to end a piece of art, that's not what we're doing today. This is just going to be an exercise where we'll create mini compositions. Now, in my last video, I mentioned that I took a course many years ago, and I went to go look for the pieces that I created, and I can't find them, but you know what? I think I may have digital copies of it. So if I do, I will link it, or not link, but I'll include it on the screen here for you so that you can see what I've done in the past. And then I took a workshop earlier this year, and we did an exercise where we did mini compositions. That was, for me, a lot of fun because, again, I love doing these. And so I can share with you those. And that workshop was with Krista Harris. If you're not familiar with Krista Harris, it's with a K, Krista. She is a fantastic artist and I want to say even more fantastic teacher. So, but really she's outstanding in both of those areas. So I had the pleasure of being able to be a student in her workshop in Santa Fe earlier this year. So these are the ones we did. Let me move some things out of the way here so you can see them and kind of give you an idea ahead of time what we're going to be doing. So she gave us, we created the papers. As a group exercise, we created papers, and then we got to take different people's papers. And then she gave us haikus. And you're going to see on here, let me do one at a time. So you'll see some words on here that was part of the haiku that I received. And this is an example of, let me go back actually. These are done. I want to go back to the ones that are not done. I only kind of finished 3 where I actually used the haiku. But here's an example of some that I also worked on. And one more there. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing today. We may get a chance to finish some. I don't have words to put on them, but if you'd like, I'm sure you can find something in a magazine or a book or something like that. Okay, so we're going to be working on, working on larger elements and smaller elements and placing them on our 4x6 paper. So this is just an example of what we're going to be doing. I'll set those aside. And going back to these, I finished these up with, you can see, I've got some drips on here, some splatters. Sorry, I always say drips when I mean splatters. You guys probably know that about me at this point. You can see some pencil markings. I came back in with some pencil markings in addition to using the words from the haiku to put on each one of these. So these are considered done. I came in here, I can see my black paint right here. I must have had like a lighter color here. So I did, edit it a little bit. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. I mentioned in my last video, if you wanted to prepare to cut up 4x6 paper, I am using this large one here, watercolor that I bought years ago. It's 12 by 18 inches. I do not like watercolor paper, but I use them for these types of exercises, and I use the back side because it's a lot smoother. The front side is just too lumpy and bumpy for me. And what's great, this thing cuts up, what did I get? 2, 4, 6, 8 of them, plus a little piece on the side that I couldn't use. that aside. And let me just turn these to the correct side so that I use the flatter side. Now, if you don't like to cut up paper like this, I also have these mixed media postcards. I love these. So these are great where you can create, here I've got one sitting over here. It's already got, you know, the area if you want to address it to somebody. I've been making some art and sending it to a good friend of mine. She's also an artist and she's been having some medical health challenges. And so I've been making little postcards for her and sending those to her. So that's another way to do this. These are 4x6 postcards if you don't want to cut it up. All right, so I said let's do 6. Let's start with, you know what, we're going to do all 6. Because when we work in multiples, we can quickly go into doing a variety of different compositions without kind of getting stuck on just working on one piece at a time. All right, so lay out all 6 of yours. If you're only going to do 4, that's great too. I want to encourage you to do more than 2, so try to do 4 or 6 of them, or even 8 if you want to do all of them. All right, so we've got that ready, and just so I make it clear, I am not putting down a layer of gesso on this. We're going to work on these without any gesso. And then we've got all of our papers that we created last week, and we're going to start cutting these up. So what I usually like to do is I like to start with the larger elements. I'm just going to come in here. Now we can cut like this by just ripping. We can put, I don't have a ruler next to me, but I mean, you could put like a ruler and rip it like this. See, even my paper works. You can take your scissors, which I know I've got scissors here somewhere. So we can also cut with scissors. Or, you know what, I like having that variety. So sometimes I like it to be ripped because it's got an uneven edge there. And sometimes it's nice to have a straight edge. We have a straight edge over here, but I might end up ripping some of these as well. All right, so I'm going to just set that aside. And let's grab, okay, so here I've got large elements too. I'm just going to kind of group these together, the larger ones. I'm going to try not to talk when I'm ripping because this is on wax paper and I know that's pretty loud. And this one was done on newsprint. So let's take this out. All right, so I've got my larger elements, and then let's continue on. And I just want to, I like having these on hand ready to go so I don't have to stop and rip something apart if I want to use it. Although I will be doing some ripping further, but by grouping them, it goes a little faster. So I'm kind of doing, you know, similar shapes or sizes into one area. I have placed these in large, kind of medium, kind of a little bit smaller, and then the smallest over here, just so it's easy for me to get to the piles. Now, unfortunately, I need to move these out of the camera shot because I'm going to need this space to create. I was looking for my matte medium, which I ran out of. Where is my matte? This is my favorite one by Golden. It's a matte medium, and I am like down to nothing in there. So I found this one sitting on my shelf, which I have not used in quite a while. I had to stir it up because it separated a bit. It's not my favorite, but it is a matte. I prefer a matte. Now, if this one doesn't work, I also have this Golden Heavy Gel Gloss. Not crazy about the gloss. And I've got a few of these, but maybe I've kind of changed over the years, but I prefer the matte over a gloss. So I'm going to go with this one and hope that it works for us. Again, it's an exercise, so it's not that big of a deal if it doesn't work perfectly. I'm going to be using this brush. I like using kind of a larger brush when I'm doing this so that I can get good coverage. So I'm going to have this open on the side here. And I'm going to start with my larger elements. I like to start with larger ones when I am doing composition. So these are my largest ones, and not a whole lot of variety. I've got circles, I've got black, white, and then I've got these lines. But that's all right. We're going to work with what we've got. So I'm going to take one of these and just set it down. And then I'll take this, maybe set that one there. I'm going to go right this one in half. So put one there. Let's go back here. Now I don't want it to cover the entire piece like this. I already cut this one up, but you know, don't cover the entire piece of paper. You do want to have a little bit of breathing room. Like this one. So this one's going to take up quite a bit, but again, I've got some breathing room down here. If I put this one here, all right, I've got another one. I love this where it's half and then half. So maybe I'll do this one sideways here. And then let's do one more white one. Let's do the half and half again. I'll just do this one down here maybe. All right, and then, see, I don't like this one as much. I'm going to use this, but I really like the, how about we do 3 white, 3 black. So I'm liking these more organic round circles here. So let's put this one maybe down here. And I'm kind of working with the straight edge that I already have here. So I could just line these up, something like that. And I do have the correct side. All right, so that's an example of, you know, I may just start with these, you know, I may shift them around a little bit, and then I can come back in with these. Now I kind of wish I did these in white so that I can put them over here, over the black, but I will definitely put the black over the white because it adds that contrast. So let's start putting these down. All right, loading up my brush, and this is going to get pretty sticky under here. But that's all part of the process of playing, right? So you want to get a nice area covered here that we're going to be, where we're going to be putting the collaged piece down. Now this has a rough edge, and I'm going to put all the way to the edge, and then I'm going to trim it later. So I'm going to put that here, and now I'm going to kind of smooth it out, but not always. I like it when there's some wrinkles in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. The imperfect is perfect to me. So I'm just going to smooth that out, and then you can put a layer right over that. And now you can see why I like the matte, because when I put a layer over it, it doesn't become all shiny. All right. So let me show you that up close, and you can see back here, we're going to give this a trim later. These parts, I'm going to let it dry completely. So that's all we did. I can see a little bit is needed right here, but it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. So let's go ahead and put down our first layer. I'm going to interrupt my own video to ask you if you could please give me a thumbs up. It really means a lot to me, and it helps other folks find my videos. And also, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it gives you an opportunity to find out when I have another video available. I'm excited to be here and build this community with you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's get back to the fun. As I work through this last one here, let me just talk real quick. One thing I wanted to share is try not to overload your brush and put way too much down, because then it's just going to ooze out all over the place. And notice here I've got a lot of wrinkles, and I love the wrinkles. So that doesn't bother me. I know some folks don't like that. So a couple of things that you can do. Let me do it on this one here if you don't want wrinkles. Let me get this one down. Now, I'm also pressing pretty hard when I'm trying to get this, let me finish getting all the way to the edge. So when I'm putting this on here, I am pressing down pretty hard to smooth it out. So that's one way to get less wrinkles. This is wax paper, and somebody was messaging me and saying how it tends to wrinkle a lot, and I agree, it does, as opposed to tissue paper that's a lot thinner and it just kind of melts right into your paper. Again, it doesn't bother me, so I'm okay with it, but let me show you what you can do if you don't like that. Let me get a little bit more on top here. All right, so you can smooth it out with your finger. That would be one way to do that. You can take a gift card and you can smooth it out like that, but I'd be careful not to damage or rip. But if you do, not a big deal. I think that just adds to the interest of it. But this would be another way to get out those wrinkles. I think this is too dry now for me to try to get the wrinkles out. So I'm going to keep wrinkles on those. I've got a lot of them over here. I wonder if I can smooth them out a little bit. Okay, that's all right. I'm good with that. All right, so this one is pretty smooth. I got one wrinkle here. All right, now where I had a straight edge, like I mentioned, I try to just line it up with the edge if that's what I want. Like this one here, I had almost 2 straight edges, so I lined that up. Now I was trying to add, I got a bunch of black here because my card had some black on it. I was trying to add variety. So if I had something on this side, on this one I decided to put it more on this side. Even though they're individual, I still look at them all as one whole, and I want to add variety to each piece. Now what we can do here is just take your scissors, flip it over. Mine's not entirely dry, but I can still cut it. It's great working from the back like this because your scissors just go right up against that edge and you can see where the edge is. As opposed to if you are trying to cut over here, you can't always see where the edge is unless you're just cutting a small little piece. Now let's move on to the next layer. I do like these pieces for the black ones, so let's do that. Let's start adding some interest that way. I think I'm going to put this one here. And let me grab another black one. They don't all have to be the same. Let's do, maybe I'll just do this one here, like that. And let's do one over here. So I'm going to cut this in half and this one in half. So again, I was trying to do something different on each one. This one I've got 3, this one I've got 2, and I've got it horizontal as opposed to vertical. And this one's got a half and a half here. And maybe we do this one like right about there. So kind of balancing it with this large piece here. And I'm overlapping it, so we're going to start building up. Don't be afraid to put something right over what you've already got there. All right, let's go ahead and... Okay, that seemed to work pretty well, but we'll see as it dries if it's going to stay flat. If you have some suggestions on other ways to get it to flatten out, put in the comments below because folks read those comments to get ideas. So go ahead and share what you got. With abstract art, when we are looking at composition, we are, unlike a sunset, we look at the composition of a sunset, we usually have like the sky being the majority of it in our frame, like the majority of the sky, or the majority of the land in the composition, with the sun setting. Now, sun setting can be dead center, but it could be slightly off. Things are more interesting when they're slightly off. So it's that rule of thirds where you've got, let me grab my pencil. So the eye is going to find things more interesting if it's slightly off center. So if you divide it up into threes like this, try to put things in these quadrants here, or these little corners, not corners, but intersections, to give your piece more interest. Hopefully you can see that. Oops, I did it in pencil, so that was kind of light. All right, so you can see my little areas here that I circled that are good places to put things that are going to stand out the most. So let me see if I can find an example at one of my pieces here. So this one, of course, you know, the words, your eye goes right to the words, but I've got a lot of it happening on this section over here with that darkness and the lower section, but notice I've left a lot of lighter areas over here. All right, and then the other thing I was going to say is, for example, this one, I did it in the lower portion of this piece. This one, although we've got the white, we could barely see that, right? But this is now in the lower quadrant here, the lower third. This one is smack in the middle, so it's going to be interesting how I'm going to work around that and which area I'm going to lean more towards. Is it going to be down here, 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 or here? This one, we've got, this really stands out because it's so dark. Again, we've got that lighter background. And then this one, I chose to go with this upper area over here. This one really, you know, stands out the most, but I'm looking more like right in this general area here. We have more to do, but that just gives you that first, you know, I just wanted to talk through a little bit. Let me see if I can find my larger scissors. Talk through, you know, those larger elements and why we put those down. Let's trim this so I can see it better. And we'll trim this one. All right, now we can see that a bit better. Now, I could save that little piece and not throw it away, but we got plenty here, so I'm tossing it. So going back to talking about, you know, composition, like we were doing with all of these pieces that we were, collage pieces we were creating, we wanted to create pieces that have larger elements, middle-sized elements, smaller and really small, so that we can add variety to our pieces. So that's going to help us, you know, build up a composition. So let's move on now, and I'll talk more about composition as we are doing. Let's see if I can give an example of, you know, if I put this here, that would be like kind of an overkill, and so your eye doesn't really know what to look at, as opposed to if I just did this, my eye goes right here. So these two are, and I often talk about competing, what's competing, but if we put this up here, notice how that's kind of competing. All right, so I'm going to save this. We might use that again. Let's go with some mid-size pieces now. So I've got white lines, which is great. Seems like I should have done more with white, and I didn't. I think I've got some over here too. Here's some white that's going to look good up against the black, but we definitely have a lot of black lines to work with. So let's go with, I love these, so let's grab some of those, and see the variety that we've got there? And so I could do, again, here's an example. These are kind of competing now. They're both the same length. This one's skinnier and this one's fatter, but they're the same length and they're both going the same direction. So that's competing. So let's turn this, maybe put it right over this. I don't know that I want to put it up high. I may want to put it down lower, or let's just cut it in half. How does that look if I just do a little bit less? Because I don't want to compete with these larger elements I've got here. So maybe I want to come in like there, or like there. That doesn't feel right to me. Over here, nope, I'm feeling, I want to stick with this area down here. So I may put that like right about there. Okay, let's take this one. And now I don't have to do the same one on all of these, but I'm forcing myself to do it so that I can figure out how can I use that particular shape of lines into each one of these mini compositions that we're doing. Okay, so this one, haven't quite decided. I could come up here. I'm feeling, I don't know, to me, I'm just kind of feeling like it can go here. Could go up here. Maybe up there. All right, this one we've got wide open space. Maybe I do a whole bunch here. These are horizontal, so I probably want to do these vertical. Oh yes, I think I'm doing it. I think I want to do it right there. And see, what I love about this tissue paper is it's going to show what's underneath, but it's going to be a lot more subtle as opposed to this dark over here. All right, one more here. What can we do? You know what? Why don't we just do a little bit? You know, I didn't cut these in half. Maybe we take that right off the page and we just do a little bit over here. I kind of like that over there as opposed to right there. All right, let's try that. Again, this may not be final, but as I start going and I start putting it down, sometimes I change it. So let's go ahead and let's get this, what are we on, our third? No, second. Oh, second in some and third on others.
Before we dive into that gel medium again, I want to send out a huge super thanks to all the folks who have supported me in a monetary way. Elizabeth, Kim, Leslie, Jenny, Lee, Elizabeth again, a different Elizabeth, Erica, Kelly, MJ, Kathy, Alexa, Tracy, Miss Long and Leggy, Lila, Nancy, Pa, Mandy, Ann, Deb, Penny, At the Ranch, Holly Rose, Sharon, Sally, Marianne, Jack, Gertrude, let's see, PJ, Rita, and Eileen. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to support me, you can just click those three dots and hit that thanks button, and you can buy me a cup of coffee. It goes a long ways in helping me create these videos for you.
What I'm going to do now is I want to hit it with the heating tool just so I can feel the wetness from that very first layer. One thing I'm noticing right away is the white that I put down first. Maybe I should have put black in the back, like painted some black, or like these pieces we worked on some black and some white. So see the difference there? This one really needed a black piece so that I can get that white to stand out. So that's something that I'm noticing. You know, I'm losing those wonderful big white circles that I had, and I really loved those, but I'm losing them here. Now we could come back with paint later. You know, maybe we do a few more layers, and then we come back in and we bring that circle back. All right, so I'm gonna dry this and then let's continue. My heating tool is really, really intense heat. And what I have noticed, I've noticed this in the past too, that when I have something like a glue, it tends to heat it up and not really dry it. It tends to make it a little bit more gooey. So I was trying to hold it up further. A hair dryer probably would work better, but of course it would probably blow all of my papers away too. going to trim these. Now let's move on. Let's pick another paper. I've got these white lines, which would be fantastic to bring in, but I just did lines, so I'm going to hold off on that. Let's bring in something else that's interesting, like these marks. I like, love these. Love these circles. Oh my goodness, where to start? Okay. So I've got these as well, but I'm going to bring these in last because they're really thin marks, so I want to bring them much later. These I would like to bring in now because they're kind of a medium size. They're larger than any of these other ones that I've got. So this is what I want to do next. And I talked about making straight edges, cutting, and I feel like I should do some of that here. Straight here and not put it on the edge, but rather put it somewhere in the middle. Okay, so I've got, if you guys probably have glue all over your hands like me, or maybe you are nice and neat about it. We get to peel all this later. Who loves peeling glue off their hands? Okay, let's see, I've got two little ones here, but I've got two here and two here, and they look so similar, so I don't want that here. Maybe I put it over here. And I'm going to end up putting that right on the edge that I just cut, but I kind of like it right here. Maybe come down just a bit. This one's on tissue paper as opposed to the wax paper I've been doing. It's going to be interesting how this should be able to melt right into my piece. I'm going to go up just a little bit, not too much higher, maybe like right there. So I've got a lot going on in this 1/3 quadrant. It's not smack in the middle. I've got still a lot of white space up there. Let's do another one. I'm not sure about this one. I'm already feeling like this is my least favorite right there because I don't have a really large element in there. I guess I could come in with, I may end up, I have a few more circles because I lost the white circles there. I feel like I need to bring something in. You know, I just might do that. That's a maybe. That's a maybe. You know what would be interesting? I'm going to cut this out because this was done on the paper, the newsprint, it's not very see-through. It's opaque, but if I give this a trim around the edges of the center, then I can see what's underneath it. I think I'm going to like that much better. So let's try that. There we go. That's more like what I was looking for. Okay, I'm going to leave that. That one I may be able to salvage after all. And then I want to do the same here. I really like these larger elements. I have to move that so I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm going to give this one a trim as well. Okay, kind of liking that. Do I want it down lower? I'm going to put it right there. So this is the great part. You get to play around and see where it makes sense. You know, maybe I want it up there. Kind of balances this down here. Something different, so I think I'm going to put that up there. All right, and I do like that one. So let's put those down. Whoops, I'm getting glue all over the place. I just thought of another way that you can glue down pieces, and that is to, whichever piece you decide to put down, just turn it over and put some of the glue, the gel, matte medium, whatever you're using, on the back side, and then put it down in addition to putting it on the surface where you're going to put it. And that just adds a little bit more to it to really attach it. Okay. I'm going to trim this right away because it really bothers me. I do like that. It's balancing with the lower area there. Let's move on to doing my circles. So I've got, let's see, I only did one so far. Let's just, now this one I said it had two. I think I want to do, it's either going to be one or it's going to be four, but I don't, or three. I don't want it to be two. If I put this here, it kind of connects that larger piece with these other pieces down here. I might do that right there. I hope my thinking out loud is helping you. Leave me a comment below if you find it helpful when I'm talking out loud about why I'm putting down some pieces where I'm thinking about putting them. Okay, so this one we've got 1.5, and I've got 2 here. I might do these 2 solid ones. I might do that, and then we're going to add one more. I'm going to go off the page down here, off the piece, and let's do one more here. How many more of these do I have? That's it, huh? I've almost used them up, and I still need to do 2 more. Okay. Whoop. It's blowing away. Right. I want to do, let me come back to this. Oh, I got to do this one too. Okay, I should have done more of these. Okay, I'm just going to do, I know I said 3 over here, 1 or 3. I'm going to go with the 1. 1 plus whatever happened down here. This kind of starts to, now I want it over here. I don't want it smack in the middle, so I want to move it over a little bit, like right there, or no, there, not so much, right over that piece. I'm kind of liking it over here, like that. Let's go to this one here. I've got this, like right here, kind of, again, kind of connecting those 2 pieces. I would like something going off. We've got it going off over here, but here it's cutting short. I don't know that I've got enough to go to the bottom. Maybe I do. Maybe like that. And then I've got this. Again, I don't want it in the middle. I'm going to go for this side over here. Maybe we put that one right there. I've got this down here, so that's kind of lining up. How about somewhere over here instead, the opposite? But I've got this big chunk here. Now I kind of wish I didn't have that because it's going to show through. Or I can bring it right down in here. Too bad I didn't do these in white. That would have been a good idea. See, this is what I mean by do as much variety as you can. Okay. I'm kind of feeling that it should be up there. And I did want one more here, didn't I? All right, we got one left because this one was going to go right off the page there. So I'm going to put this one here. So we've got 3 because I've got kind of 1.5 here. All right, I'm gluing down. Some observations. The one that I didn't like at all, I'm starting to really like. This one's feeling very sparse because, again, we had that big white, but we didn't have one of these darker, larger elements here. So it's going to be a little bit different than the others. This one, I love the way tissue paper just melts into the piece so that you can see what's going on underneath. I mean, look at this one. We've got a nice composition coming together in the sense that we've got something really large here and down here, and they're balancing each other. We've got some really thin lines here that are very organic. We've got this medium-sized circle and a half circle and a quarter of a circle, or a third, that's kind of connecting these two. So I really I'm loving this piece. Over here, I love the 3 in a row now. We can still see the 2 larger ones, and the eye kind of visually, you know, your eye knows that this is a circle, so it's kind of seeing it as a circle, even though it's not complete. So I like that. And then here, you know, I love this large one that really grounds the piece. It's in the 1/3 lower quadrant here with these lines over here and then these medium size. So these are really already starting to come together. I'm going to trim the back of these. I hope you're seeing that too on your pieces that you're working on. And don't be hard on yourself. If you're not seeing it yet, that's okay. This is an exercise. We are playing, we are figuring things out, we are learning, and you know, anything goes and everything goes. The more we do this, the more we start to see and understand how composition plays a role in our paintings to make them interesting, to make the viewer want to go into that painting, to allow the viewer to explore more. Because, you know, when your eye is drawn in, for example, this one where it's got that large piece, your eye goes there, but then it starts exploring more because there's other interesting things happening. Let's go to white now. So I've got this white, love that. And then I've got, now this is on wax paper. I wish I did more tissue paper. What else do I have on tissue? This is wax. I've got this on tissue paper, so I'm going to definitely use this. And, all right, more wax paper down here. Note to self, I'm going to do more on tissue paper in the future, but it is nice having, you know, kind of that variety. Okay, we've got, again, circles, but they are different than all the circles that we've got here already. So we can add this, or we can add some lines here. I think I'm going to go for the lines. Let's do this next. So I'm just going to rip a piece. I know I said cutting is good, but I love things to be very organic. I rarely will have really hard edges. I mean, this to me, I consider that a hard edge. You know, right there, I consider that a hard edge. You can see them in a variety of different places, but overall, you're not going to see my artwork have really hard lines because my artwork is all about nature. Even when I'm doing little compositions like this, that's my go-to. That's what I love, and so you're going to see that here. Now, if you love buildings and if you love modern architecture and you have lines in your artwork, outstanding, do that. If that's speaking to you, if that's calling you, then do the hard edges and, you know, put triangles in and rectangles in and squares and work your composition using those elements. All right, I want to put these in, and I'm going to go, I don't have a lot of black here, so I'm struggling with this guy over here. I might go right over what I have, maybe about there. And let's do something down here. I'm going to do a square piece. Speaking of squares, maybe square that off. I'm feeling like something right about there would be good. It complements these lines. They're not identical, but they're close in shape. And even size, possibly. All right, this one here, let's see, we'll just take the rest of that square maybe. And see, I can go horizontal or I can go vertical. Now I have these vertical. Maybe I should do this one. I'm going to do this one this way, vertical, since these are horizontal. And again, these are vertical, so let's do this one horizontal. I don't want it smack in the middle. I want it a little bit off center from this. I'm really loving this right here. So I'm thinking like right about there. Let's go to this one. I've got a lot of dark areas, so let's look at what I can do here. And I've got long areas, because I was thinking, well, do I do something running all the way down the page? But I don't want to do that since I already have this. But I could, you know, make this really skinny and maybe put one like right here. That's what I love about doing compositions like this. It's different than painting because, you know, then you got to wait for the paint to dry if you don't like what you put down, or you got to scrape it off. But with this, you know, we could take each piece and we can just move it around until we find a spot where we like it. You know, that's a possibility. I'm going to go back to this because I really like this right here. Going right in the middle of that one. Should I do right in the middle or should I go slightly off? I always talk about doing something slightly off. I'm going to go slightly off. There we go. So I'm thinking right there. Let's move on to this one up here. What can we do here? Now I could do, you know, it doesn't have to be all, well, I don't want it just, I was thinking I can do a bunch of little pieces, but here's what happens. Let me give you an example what happens when you do a bunch of little pieces. So we could do little pieces, but I'm going to show you two ways. One that's going to work and one that's not, in my opinion, is not going to work. And again, this is all based on my opinion. Every artist is going to do this differently, but this is my thought process here. So what if I put one up here, I put one down here, and I put one right there. So now I'm going to put it over here. So what happens here, let me bring this closer to you. So what happens here is if I've got this one here, this one down here, and this one here, to me it's disjointed. It's like they're floating in space. They don't belong. They don't relate to one another. So what can we do instead? We can take them, even though it's three little pieces, and we can bring them in closer proximity to each other like this, and now the three will relate to one another. So I'm thinking I'm going to put them there. All right, so that's an example of how I try not to push things so far away from each other that they don't relate to one another. See how all these lines, they're all next to each other, they relate to each other. These two relate to one another because they're close in proximity. These four relate to one another. This one, well, it's just one, so it doesn't have to relate to anything, but it is balancing out this heavy area down here. All right, so this is my last one to do, and let's see, what shall we do here? I've got these vertical lines. I'm thinking something horizontal in here, maybe down here. How about right in there? All right, that's what I'm going to do. Let's glue down. I would like to dry this, but I feel like it's not going to completely dry. So but let me hit it with the heating tool because I'm getting very goopy because my layers are not dry, and so I'm just putting more on top of the wet. So let me dry this a little bit and I'll come right back. Moving on, let's do a little bit more white. This one's feeling very bare up here, so I want to figure out what I can do up there. Now I've got this one circle that's left over. Aha. Maybe I put that up there and that kind of drives the eye directs the eye through there. Let's do that. Again, I want to trim the inside so that, do I need to trim the inside? I really don't, because I got nothing there that's going to even show. Although I do have the white underneath, but we're going to say goodbye to that. And just push this right up like that. I'm just going to trim it now before I put some more of the matte medium over it, gel medium. I like that much better. What do you guys think? When in doubt, get something big and bold in there. So that's much better. I'm feeling like I need something dark right down in here to carry the eye through the piece. I really, you'll notice in my artwork, like this is cut off here, so my eye stops right there. This one goes off the edge, so my eye continues. These are not at the edge, but they kind of, draw your eye up. This one, I've got off the edge in 3 areas. Same here, I've got, my eye knows that this continues somewhere over here. And same as these, they don't go completely off. A couple of them do, a few of them do, but my eye knows it continues. This one too, we've got going off the edge here, going off the edge here, same here, off the edge, here, not so much, and then here, not as much, but a couple of them are, so my eye assumes that it continues that way. So that's, to me, the importance of not having everything contained within. Now, there are artists that create art that's contained, within the borders of the edges. And I'll tell you right now, I fall in love with all those pieces. But when I come to create, that's not me. That doesn't come naturally for me. And so this is what works naturally for me. If it doesn't for you, do it within. There's no right or wrong when you are creating art that is a part of who you are. Now, let's move on to, I've got these drips. So do I want to do drips? Let me think about that. I've got these, but it's on a solid background, and at this point, this would have been done. This would have been good to do early on because it's opaque, and if I put it on now, I'm going to lose all of this. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to set this aside. Maybe use it some other time. This is also on opaque paper, but maybe I can just take a circle or two without, obliterating everything that I've already done. There might be some places where I can put this. I really love these. And I love them because I have so much black. I like the white. Now, the other white that I liked were these. This is what we created using this golden paint with rubber bands put around them and dipped into paint. So I would like to use this, and I did like these funky little, I don't know if I'm going to use these today. These lines are very straight lines that we used with the gift card to make lines, and I might bring them in, but again, it's on an opaque background. I should have done it earlier. Note to self, when I've got it on opaque backgrounds, try to do those earlier. I'm going to set that aside. And then I've got this pile here that I created of my my most smallest pieces. And so, oh, I see, I love that. Love that one. So maybe I can bring that in too. All right, let's go with these circles, and we'll come back to some of these other items. And I didn't expect that I would use all of them, but I wanted to have enough marks that are interesting that I can use. And I do like this one, so I do want to use that. Now, let's get the scissors out. And I think I'm going to I'm going to start with ripping, because you know me, I like to do my ripping. Let's just see what happens if I rip a piece. See, this, for example, this doesn't work. And why it doesn't work is because it's lined up here and I've got white here, and it just feels disconnected. Now if I had them on top of each other, they relate to each other much more. Or if I had it over here, they are relating because they're much closer to in proximity. If I put it down here, I'm not feeling that at all. That feels disjointed to me. So I could do it here with this nice straight edge, or I can follow my straight edge over here and put it there. Let me think about that. I'm just going to leave it there for now. Let's move on to the next one. Let's do, I could do some black circles also, but I feel like I've got so much black already going, happening. I think the white is going to work better. We'll set that aside, and I don't want to do 4 again. I did 4 over here. Maybe we do 3 here. So I've got this white. So how do I do this so that they relate to one another? I can do it right here. That kind of relates. If I go way up here, I'm not feeling that, especially if it's lined up like this. I don't like things that are lined up like that. If I do it over here, it feels too disjointed for me. Maybe what if I just cut this in half? Like this. And I can go right over the other white that I have. I could put it down here. Nope, I don't like that. On the side like I did over there, no. I'm kind of liking it like right in the middle of this, or maybe the lower half. I want a little bit showing here and some up here. I think I'm going to put it right there. Moving on. Next one. Do I want to do, this has got just a little bit on it. Do I continue this line going up? I don't really like that. Do I join it? Or maybe, what if I did this? It's a little too close, but I just want to trim around them. Just did a trim around them, kind of a scalloped edge. So we can do something straight. So I've got here and here. Maybe this should go up a little higher to there. That kind of relates, kind of not. Do I put it up here? If I put it up here, I feel like I need something in here, maybe these lines, to bring them together, to get them to relate to one another more. So that's a possibility. Knowing that then I'd have that challenge of how do I get them to come closer together. I'm just going to show you. If I put it over here, see it's kind of right across from each other. Up here, that's a possibility too. Again, I would want something to bridge the two together. But I kind of liked it right up here in this corner. Maybe I'll even cut that one in half. And I don't want it to stop right in the middle, so maybe I bring that over a little bit more. All right, so I'm thinking right there. Let's go up to this one. What can we do up here? I've got these white pieces. You know what? I'm just going to do one. Let's just do one. And I'm feeling like I can just do one here. See, I like the grouping that I have here. They're not perfect, they're staggered. And then just having one down here, maybe just off a bit. I think that might work. I know it's further away, but what I think works here is that these are staggered and they're not grouped together like some of these other ones are. So that's a possibility there. Let's move on to this one. What can we do there? Just rip some of these here just to have something to play with. I don't want it to go directly across, but what if I did one there? It kind of goes across there and then it comes down here. Not really feeling that it's going to work if I do it vertically. I'm thinking horizontally. But I don't want to cover up. See, here's my problem. I really love this area here. So I'm going to trim this back a bit so I'm not covering up that area. And I know I shouldn't get attached to anything because then it makes it harder to finish, but I'm going to get attached for this little exercise here. And just trim these back a bit. There we go. Maybe like right there. I got to think about that one. Down here. Maybe down here versus up here. We got to go with what our heart is telling us. I don't want it perfectly lined up with that, so I would probably want it over this way more. All right, I'm going to come back to that. Make myself crazy. One more. What shall we do over here? Put down two, like right there. Kind of like that. It's not too far away from this, and it kind of mimics the circles that we've got over here. So I'm thinking maybe like right here. That's my first gut instinct. If I came down here, well, that would be kind of cool too. Kind of like what I'm doing here. Or maybe I put it up higher. Okay, see how this can make you crazy after a while because there's so many options. Is there a right or a wrong? Not really. It's what you feel. And you know, and I don't have to, what if I didn't do them lined up? What if I did it at an angle like that? Okay, now I kind of like that. Let's glue them down. I don't want to overthink it. For this one, I like the way that rip kind of follows the curve of that particular circle. All right, I got a lot of glue going on. Let's see, what's next? I do want to trim off just this little piece here. I hope you're seeing your pieces come together as well. You know, I'm loving the way these are coming together. Each one is unique and different, even though we're using pretty much the same elements or very similar elements in each one, but it's fascinating to watch each piece come together in its own, you know, with its own character and visually, you know, a different story in each one. Let's do one last here, and I know I've got, you know, I know I said I wanted this. Oh, maybe two more. Okay, this is very similar to this. I think I'm going to go with these lines. I've got splatters over here. I've got these small dots, but I think this offers something different than what we've already got here. So I've got all this white happening here. I feel like I need to balance that somehow, maybe with just a little bit right over here. It's similar in shape to that. maybe go even smaller. I don't want it to be, you know, the same shape. So let's go even smaller here, right to the edge, and going over a little bit of that black, layering up. Okay, I'm good with that. What shall we do here? I have this little piece. Now notice now I am moving these pieces further away because I've got a nice grouping of white here, and then I am balancing it with just a little piece over here. I'm not doing, you know, another one up here, which is going to kind of throw your eye out into like, why is that there? All right, so I'm going to do something similar here where I've got this grouping of white here. You can't quite see the white here from our first layer. I feel like it needs to be balanced right in here somehow. And maybe a different piece. I don't want a large piece because, again, I don't want it the same size as that. So I'm going to rip this, and I'm just going to do a small piece right there. And I talked about bridging these, didn't I? Let's see how we can bridge that. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to bridge it. How about like this? You know what? I'm going to do that right there. And I've got a hard edge on there, but that's going to disappear. Kind of bridges these whites down here. Yeah, I think I want to do that. Right there. I don't like that, I'm noticing that I don't like that I saved all this white to do at the very end, because now it's kind of floating at the very top, and you know, we can do some splatters to help push some of it back. So something to keep in mind. It would have been nice to do a combination of a layer of white, a layer of black, something like that. Let's do this one here. I don't know that I even want to do one here because I've got this grouping here and I've got this, and I'm really happy with that. I know I said I was going to force myself to use pieces, but as we come to the end, I don't want to force myself to do something that isn't going to work with the piece. So I'm not going to put one there. Let's look here. I've got these two. I'm kind of feeling like maybe I can just overlap a bit right here. If I put something up here, not really feeling that. Let's see. I feel like I have to go with my gut instinct, which my gut's telling me just to put a piece right there. And let's go to this one. Yeah, this one, I think I want to do something right in here. I really like those long black lines, and I'm going to end up covering some of that up, unfortunately. And this time I'm going to use my scissors to cut a long strip, a thin long strip. And I'm thinking right here, but see, I don't want it lined up perfectly with what I had. So maybe I just take that part out and I put that right here. And I will move it around just to be sure. So no, I don't like it up here. And I don't like it over here. I'm going to put it right there. Let's glue them down. Again, I don't want to overthink it. I am really, really happy with these. Can I do more? Probably. I really love these swirls, and because it's so different from everything else. So that's my last thing I'm going to add. Let's add some swirls. So where can I add just a little bit? Take out some of those thicker lines. I could barely see these, but I feel like it's just going to add that little bit of interest to the piece. Okay, let's take another one. I'm going to put this one kind of like see, going from the edge, not all the way to the edge, but right through here, because this is a very quiet area right here. This is going to add some interest, but it's not gonna, and I'm gonna take out this part because it's really dark. I'll leave the darker one down there, but it's just adding a little bit of noise, but not too much. It's still kind of a quiet area. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, where was this hiding? It fell over. Nope, not going to do it this time because the size is competing with the other shapes that I have. Going back to this. I really wish this was on tissue paper instead of wax paper. Like I said, note to self. Okay, I'm going to bridge this together by putting this right there. Okay, and then this one, what can we do here? This has got thicker pieces. I really like the thinner lines. Maybe I just do a little bit of the thin lines. Like right there. And this one I didn't do yet. Do I have any thinner lines? It's got a big blotch. I want the really thinner areas. Let me see if I can do that here. Okay, I'm going to go over like some of the white. Like I mentioned that I felt like the white was really sticking out too much, so right here I'm going over a little bit of the white. Oh, I skipped that, didn't I? Here I'm going to go over a little bit of the white, and here I'm going over the white. Not so much here, but I'm okay with that. But here I want to come back to this. Where can I add some over the white area? Maybe down here. Let's go down there. All right, last layer. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm so glad you're still here. We're going to call this done. Can we do more? Sure we can. We could come in with, with some mark making and put some smaller dots in here. We can, if you want, you can come in with some color. I like them black and white because it really lets me see the composition. As soon as we add some color, what happens is we no longer really see, like this is a skin from, I peeled it off of my palette. So just as an example, so if I came in here and I threw on some color here, where is your eye going to go? It's going to go right where that color is. So when we're working on learning composition, I prefer to work with black and white so that we can focus on values. And I didn't talk a lot about values today, but you can see some of them on here as this is drying, and I know once it's dry you're going to get a variety of values, but honestly I didn't work on that when I was creating the collage pieces. I could have done some grays, and I think we did a little bit of gray when we did these dots, and so that would be good to bring in here. So that's note to self. Do some in a gray next time so that we can get more of those values in there. All right, let's recap what we did today. We focused on putting down the larger elements. So when you're creating your painting, I know I tend to start with, a whole bunch of different shapes, but I do like to kind of start to put down the foundation of larger shapes in my pieces so that it will ground. There'll be a place where the eye goes early on. Now, that can change, certainly, but it kind of gives you some structure early on. We talked about doing 1/3, so having things not dead center, not center up here or on the sides, but to have it in the thirds. And so when we look at our pieces, this was in this quadrant up here, this is down in this quadrant, kind of balancing it. Over here, we've got a large element here. Would have been nice if I maybe had done, no, I didn't want it lined up with that. So this is kind of getting your eye to flow through here. On this one, we stopped, this has got so, Can you see those layers and layers of matte medium on here, gel medium? This is going to thoroughly dry, so I'm hoping it'll become a bit more transparent and we can see more layers. But this is kind of cut off, and I know early on I said I would love to put something down here, and I never got around to that. So it'd be interesting if, you know, if I was to come in and put something down here, maybe had continued that off the page or something, how that really changes the composition immediately. All right, we're learning, so that's okay, it's all good. On this one here, wow, really I've got so much goop piled up. Okay, loved these really large elements that we had in here, and then coming in with some thin lines. So again, we were using a variety. We were using lines, horizontal, vertical, circles in different shapes and sizes. We've got these really thin ones here that I wanted to put over all of that white that we had happening. We've got something kind of different happening up here as well. So variety, having your large, medium, small, really small shapes is so key in allowing you to start building up compositions. This one's interesting because I've got this over here in the middle. Shouldn't be in the middle, right? I should have brought that down a bit more or up a bit more. And then I've got pretty much everything else lined up on this side. You know, it doesn't fully follow any rules, but I kind of like it. I kind of find it interesting because, again, this is going off the page up here. If I had just stopped, I don't think it'd be as interesting by keeping that there. And then this one did stop. It would have been nice if I continued it off. If I was to continue to work on this, you know, I could just come in with a little bit of black paint right there so that the eye continues down. But it's interesting how I just kind of put everything on this side and not so much over here other than this one in the middle. So I'm learning as I do each one of these, you know, I can see what I like and what I don't like. I think I really would have liked this if it came up a little bit higher and it would have balanced more with everything else going on, similar to what we did here, you know, balancing these two areas. So each one was, you know, an opportunity to learn, to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what I like, what I don't like, and that's how we learn. That's how we take what we've learned here and we're going to bring that into our artwork in not obvious ways. So I don't want to say you're going to, you know, now you're going to go paint and you're going to be like so focused on knowing exactly what to do. It doesn't work that way. You're going to take subconsciously take some of this information, or maybe even on a conscious level, and, you know, kind of notice as you are creating your pieces of art, are you bringing in those large elements? Are you bringing in medium? Is there variety? Are there shapes going, you know, horizontally and vertically to add interest? Are we going off the page? If that's something that we like to do, the eye expands and it continues off the page. So those are some things that you can certainly apply to your artwork. Okay, I'm going to call this done. I hope you enjoyed this exercise. Let me know in the comments below. It really means a lot to me when you comment, and also if you can give me a thumbs up, hit the bell so that you're notified of future videos, but also you'll need to subscribe. So I appreciate if you can subscribe. I am at, I think, 86,000 followers on here, and I would love to hit 100,000, so that's my goal. So if you can share this with a friend of yours who also likes to do this art or would like to learn about composition, that would mean so much to me. Okay, as always, so happy that you're here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a super fabulous and creative day. Take care.